We'll go ahead and go to this next video and check this out.
Let's start with MSNBC and other left-wing outlets' coverage of Charlie Kirk's assassination. MSNBC has been forced to apologise because of its coverage of Charlie Kirk's assassination. We'll read you the statement that has been put out from Rebecca Cutler. It says, during our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive and unacceptable. We apologise for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. And let's just take a look at why MSNBC was forced to apologise. Look at this.
Talk to me about the environment in which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
Jack, it is just disgusting. They couldn't wait a day before they start trashing Charlie Kirk, saying his comments were divisive, that hateful speech led to this. What do you make of this?
It's some of the most despicable media coverage I think I've ever seen. A man, a father...
Real quick, think about that right there. They're saying that hateful speech led to this, and they're already cutting him off, talking down on him, and he just passed away. And the thing is, he didn't seem hateful to me. I've seen a bunch of his videos. He had an argument, he had a debate, a disagreement. He was coming from the Bible. He was doing it respectfully. Where's the hate at in that? Just think about this stuff right here. This should challenge us to stand up for truth even that much the more. Check out what this man right here is saying.
Yeah.
He's murdered. These comments are made as he's dying. He wasn't yet declared dead at this point. And so rather than just reporting the mechanics of what's happened, rather than saying, at this point, he was shot in the neck with precision, by the way. So this whole notion that it could have somewhat been an accident by a supporter, to put that inference out there before you actually know what's happening is absolutely disgusting. But then to think, okay, the appropriate way to cover this story, this huge story, is to place some kind of characterization around him from a moral point of view is absolutely despicable. Now, to say that it is hate speech to take some of his positions, I think is just absolutely appalling, because you've got in America, it appears to be one of the only countries in the world where if you oppose illegal immigration at the levels that they are experiencing, you're somewhat of an extremist. In Australia, left-wing parties and more conservative parties are in complete agreement that borders should be protected. No serious country adopts a policy that their borders shouldn't be protected. But we have news outlets who are they think that they're mainstream. I think that they're now on the fringe, and this is why people are moving towards more independent voices, because there is more integrity now. But you've got these people who are characterising that, of protecting your borders of a sovereign nation, as somewhat of an extremist viewpoint. Now, to say, I think the quote was, hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. Now, think about that. That is a very deliberate argument that action was somewhat justified or deserved, or simply it's his own fault for having hateful rhetoric. I don't even accept that it is hateful rhetoric to suggest that there is a crime problem. But for a journalist or a commentator to put that viewpoint out there, I think is appalling. And I don't accept their apology. I don't think Americans should. And I think that they should face some kind of congressional inquiry for why they are heightening the temperature in America, and it's leading to multiple assassination attempts on conservatives.
Really well said, Jack. It's just absolutely disgusting. And you know what? I wish that was the only horrific statement that was made. It gets worse. Here's more coverage from MSNBC.
Charlie Kirk is a divisive figure, polarizing, lightning rod, whatever term you want to use. Why?
Well, he's one of MAGA's most prominent voices online. He hosts a near daily podcast. He opines on almost everything. He's been very closely aligned with the president since his initial run for office in 2015, 2016. And his ties to Trump really elevated his own brand. He was really quite young as an activist when the president launched his initial campaign, and he has kind of ridden along with MAGA.
Again, divisive figure. I mean, how on earth?
So think about what they were saying. This right here, you could tell that they were being passionate about. You could see the passion in their speech, in their eyes, that they were concerned about this. And they're in Australia, I think it was. And so the whole world is being impacted by things like this, because this is not a lightweight type of thing. But we need to stand up for truth. We need to not back down right now, because this is the time where we need to stand for truth. When there's people hating for no reason, we can hate back, but there's got to be something greater than that, and it's love. We're showing love. And for the people that's not sure, there's going to be some people that they thought they were doing hate for the right reasons, and for whatever reason that would be, they thought they were doing a good deed. They thought they were doing something good. They thought they were, maybe it was a tradition or support of their friends, their parents, whatever. But by us showing love to these people, it's going to bring some across to, to rethink the things that they were doing, and it brings unity. So we're trying to show love in the midst of the hate, the violence. And I'm showing some of the things that people were doing that's hateful, but ultimately I don't want us to try to get vengeance, because remember, God gets the vengeance. But we need to be praying for this man's family, his kids, his wife, and praying for his community, his team, and just praying for the nation, praying for the world, that that God touches us, that God brings us together, that we can show love to each other, that we don't have to go this route. I'm not saying that things like this is not going to ever happen if we speak truth, but we need to stand for truth no matter what happens, because ultimately one day we're going to be done with. Our lives are going to end, just like this man CharlieKirk. Whether we die by whatever reason or through natural causes of death, but regardless, one day our life is going to come to an end. Our life is like a vapor. It's here today, gone tomorrow. So we need to make the best of it by being intentional about doing God's will. And it will make an impact to people in so many ways, in unbelievable ways. God can do some great things. And I want to encourage y'all with that right there.